It was a case of Zirkzee that denied Man United a very, very crucial win at the Amex on Saturday. But then that was also followed by a João Pedro late goal, which saw Ten Hag fall to his first defeat, and many arguing it's the same old United. But Jamie, I want to start with you as the resident City fan. Was it the same old United? Was that lost them the match, the disallowed goal, or the poor defending, for João Pedro to get that goal? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess it is kind of same old United, because if you look at their record versus Brighton, last 6 games, Brighton have won 4 and United have won 1, which I might be wrong in this, but I think it was the game that blew for full time with a draw, then came back for the penalty. Or that might have been the one before the 6 games. Don't confirm me on that part, but still, it's not a good record. So you do get these bogey teams. Like City, we've got it like versus Palace. We get it, and we always seem to we can't beat them in just sort of at home. We just seem to always draw, or they come out with a shock win. So things like this does happen in football. So yes, it can be sort of same old, but when you're comparing Brighton, new manager, to United, 3rd year with the manager, you expect United to be a bit more together, know what they're doing. And to be honest, I think they both were very even overall. So I think it's not good enough from a United point of view to be sort of like losing like this to Brighton and the game being basically even. I think you've probably touched on it there, Reece, with the defending. Both goals, if you look, like everyone's pointing out the João Pedro goal, which was terrible defending. How can you have 2 or 3 players at the back post free for Brighton in the 90s? Then if you look at the Welbeck one, he's had the ball crossing the box. Welbeck is in the 6-yard box, not man marked, or a defender's not near him to score. That's not good enough, and it happens time and time again for United. So the players are definitely to blame, but is it something to do with the tactics? That's really where I'm kind of seeing it in this. It's simply not good enough.
I think you can blame the manager for some things, but for me, particularly that winning goal for Brighton, it's hard to blame the manager for something as simple as that. Like, the ball's gone wide, not even that wide either, and you've got 4 pretty good defenders, just four pretty experienced defenders, just completely switching off. And I just don't think you can blame the manager for that specific goal. Like, you've got to do better. You've got to know, as the left back in that position, you can't get drawn out. And if you do, there's got to be a centre back covering you. Like, I know it happens very quickly. It's the last minute of the game, blah, blah, blah. But that is pretty basic stuff.
But it is happening time and time again. This isn't the first time United have conceded a late goal. It's not the first time this season. Even the Community Shield, they conceded a late goal. And they conceded that to a cross where Bernardo Silva gets a head on the ball. Sort of things like that. So it's not like it's the first time it's happening, and then you can't blame Ten Hag if it happens once. It's happening several times. Surely sometimes you have to go, right, we need to train this on the training pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you look at things and you say how, it was a very even game. Let's be blunt, the stats pretty much show that. So you sometimes can't look too much into that. But you're absolutely right. This isn't the first time they've conceded a late goal in recent weeks, recent months. This has been an ongoing occurrence. That was very poor defending. As great as a goal that was for Pedro, the defending was poor. I would expect seasoned professionals, to at least be covering around that side of the pitch, and he was as free as a bird. But what concerned me actually mostly was, even the goal was disallowed, is once United got the equaliser, the momentum should have been with them to go on to win the game. Against a team like Brighton, no disrespect to them, but you should. That's often how you see it. Man City would have gone on to win that game. Liverpool would have gone on to win that game. Arsenal would have gone on to win that game. Or at the very least, if they weren't able to break them down for a second goal, held on to a draw and gone, look, let's take the draw and go home. United just didn't look like they were threatening at all. Like, that was what concerned me. Diallo was very hit and miss. I do like him as a player, and he needs more game time, but very hit and miss. Garnacho was decent. Zirkzee was okay. He took off Fernandez. Let's not forget that, which I thought was a strange move when, he's kind of the guy that you need to get you the goal in the last 10 minutes. So I'm a bit confused about that tactically, but it was a strange one. Of course, if we talk about Zirkzee's goal, I know a lot of people are saying about it should or should it not have stood. What are your thoughts on that? Because it was disallowed regardless of what they think.
You got Mark Goldbridge obviously saying, the rules should change for that. And I mean, come on, you're 2 games into the Premier League. You can't change the rules just because you don't like the outcome. Like, it's offside. I get what you're saying. They've not benefited from him being there, but you can't just change the rules because you don't like the outcome. And I don't particularly think there's a lot of rules that need to change in football in the Premier League, and I don't think that's one of them. Some will say it's unlucky from Zirkzee, sorry, or Zirkzee as we can now call him, Reece, as you said. I don't know. I just think it's one of those things. He gets a bit excited. In hindsight, he probably should know he's offside and try and pull away. But it is what it is. Obviously, it's offside. It's the rules of the game. It's tough shit, basically.
Come on, we've all 3 of us have been qualified referees anyway. It's offside. It's not up for debate. It's not, the rules are wrong. You're on your line and you've tapped it in. The ball's come forward. He should know he's offside. You should be ducking, diving, the 5 Ds from dodgeball, doing something just to get out of the way of that ball, because you're offside. Just get out. Like, I'm not fully blaming him because he may have tried to actually get out of the way, and that's the only natural position his leg could go. But to say the rules need changing is just pathetic, and shows. I think it does show the desperation at United, because of old, when they were winning stuff, they wouldn't have even thought. They would have just gone, oh well, brush this off onto next week. Now they're like, no, we need these 3 points. We need this 1 point extra, because they're getting a bit desperate. Really, that's plain and simple. That is just not. It's just not. The rules are fine with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. The rules are the rules for a reason. I've never heard such crap come out from when, they didn't say anything, when Coventry had their goal disallowed. They didn't mind it then. The rules are the rules, as they were saying then. They are the rules. It doesn't matter if they had no advantage, Zirkzee there. He was still able to tap it in. Otherwise, you're going to try and do things where a player can just run in and whack it in. Look, Garnacho's shot was pretty weak. He should have been able to have got that in the net. And it was offside. Whether they want to admit it or not, they have to accept it. They'd be livid if that was the other way around. They can't talk about giving leeway or giving sportsmanship. Football does not have sportsmanship. You are encouraged to throw yourself on the floor. You are encouraged to feign injury, to get yourself an advantage. And when it's the other way around, it's wrong. There is no sportsmanship in football, so cut that crap out. Cut it. It's rubbish. Zirkzee, look, he did what he did. He's young. It doesn't, when I say it doesn't matter, but like, he's not going to do that again. You can't do that anymore now with VAR in the fold. He would have got away with that a couple of years ago, most likely. But it is what it is. Realistically, United should be cheesed off that they didn't finish the game anyway. That's what's unacceptable. And like we said there, they look like they're desperate for the 3 points. This is the 2nd consecutive season, well, 3rd really under Ten Hag, where they've got off to what you would say a slow start, despite recording 3 points last week against Fulham. Does this put Ten Hag under pressure already, Jordan?
Yes, not just this one game in isolation, but as I said on the sort of pre-season, our predictions, I did see this coming for Man United when they lose. I think they're vulnerable, and I think the Ten Hag narrative is not going to disappear. It's only going to disappear if they have a phenomenal start to the season, which they haven't had. Fulham, again, we all said it last week. Yes, great win, clean sheet, blah blah blah, but it did paper over some cracks because they were open in that game. And I said it was, akin to a basketball match at times. And I stand by that. And Brighton game had that feel to it. Both teams end-to-end stuff going for it. And I think we saw it. We saw it with the goal. they're just too open defensively still. And signing Euro, yes, he's injured. Signing De Ligt, signing Mazraoui, I don't personally think fixes it for them in the way they think it will. So he is under pressure. And I think if I'll need to double check their next fixtures, but it's a problem. If they go, let me just have a quick look at their next coming up matches, because it is important. They've got Liverpool at home. Then they've got Southampton away, which again, easy game, but it's one of those that, 12:30 kickoff, newly promoted side away. It could go either way. And then they've got Spurs, and then they've got Villa away. So suddenly this is a bit of a problem, because you're looking ahead going, right, let's have a think. What could they do here? Right. Liverpool, I wouldn't be confident in them winning that. Southampton looks like a result they could lose. And then you've got, I think I missed Palace away in there actually as well, but Palace, Spurs and Villa. So I do think he's going to come under pressure quick if they don't get results. Say Liverpool go and embarrass them at the weekend. Everyone, the whole narrative, boom, just like that will flip, and everyone will be on Ten Hag's back already. So it is a problem. I think one other thing I just want to bring up, you mentioned tactics as well, and you look at their starting lineup. You've obviously got Mount starting, who's not had a great start to his Man United career, hooked off at half-time. You've then got Diallo, who people are promising obviously playing, and I don't think he had a bad game. But you've also got Garnacho on the bench. And I'd argue pretty strongly that Garnacho is one of their best players last season. So why is he coming off the bench? You've then got Anthony, the 80 mil player, just not even playing. And I do think there's a lot of problems. Garnacho should be playing to me. And I think if he's going to lose his games, not play his best players or start his best players, I think the pressure is going to mount even more.
Yeah, I do agree with you there, George. Like what you're saying with the whole Garnacho not starting, I don't understand it. You got to remember, look, Rashford's not been on form now for over a season. He should have no guarantees of starting the next game. He can produce wonderful moments, don't get me wrong. And we saw it in that purple patch he had, where it seems to be everything that came off his foot went in the back of the net. But that's long gone now. We're over a season past that, over a season and a half past it. United have a big problem, and this is the same under Ten Hag, so is scoring goals. If you look at the first season that Ten Hag was there, they scored 58 goals. They may have come third, but that was the lowest up to nearly 8th in the league. Last season, 57 goals. That was joint 10th in the league of goal scoring. This year, they've played Fulham at home, Brighton away. They've scored 2 goals. Okay, they've scored in both games, but I would expect more. If they're my first 2 games, I'd expect more goals. And that's a big problem they've got. Now they've tried to sign... Well, really, the problem they've brought is they've bought Zirkzee, and he's come out going, I'm not a number 9. I'm not a number 10. I'm a 9.5. That just screams to me, I don't really guarantee me scoring goals. So why the hell have they signed him? They don't need a number 10. They've got Bruno Fernandes, who has got wonderful stats of creating chances. I think he's created the most chances for the last 3 seasons, or maybe even more. So you don't need him. You need a goal scorer. You need a Tony. He's one there is available. Pretty much start every game.
The problem is they've spent 70 mil on Højlund. That's the problem. So them justifying going 50, 60 million again.
But he can't play 90 minutes. He's not been able to since he's come in last season. I think he's played, maybe you can count them on your hand how many 90 minutes he's played, because every time he's actually played and started, he gets subbed off after 70 minutes, whether United need a goal or not. So that's no good. But yeah, back to Ten Hag, is he under pressure? Well, he was before the FA Cup final. They were talking about sacking him. They won the FA Cup final, and they've gone, oh, he's wonderful, he's brilliant, why are we going to sack him? The narrative changes very quickly. And to be honest, I wouldn't actually be that worried about playing Liverpool next, because them sort of games play into what Ten Hag's been good at. He's good at a team that should be dominating the ball against you attack after attack, and you go and hit them on a counter. You sit 10, 11 men behind the ball and hope they don't have a piece of magic out of nowhere to score a goal. They've got to, break down 11 men, which is very difficult to do. So I wouldn't be actually that concerned about that game. They might go and get stuffed. To be honest, I hope they do, because that's just the City fan in me. But it's actually a game that benefits Ten Hag, because there's a lot of pressure on the game, but United fans will accept them sitting behind the ball, not scoring much in this sort of game, than they would if they had to play Southampton next. We've got to go and win 3-0.
Just one more thing to touch on in terms of the squad, and I don't know how led this is by Ten Hag, but the McTominay situation is quite surprising to me as well. It seems they're trying to force him out and try and get him, basically sell him on the relatively cheap for around 20-25 mil, which, one, it's baffling that they can't get a sale at that price anyway. But why? Again, I'd argue McTominay's been one of their better players in the last season at the very least. Why are they trying to force him out?
Personally, I don't think he's that good. I think he is someone that, if he was a CDM and actually played like a CDM, because he plays more of an attacking sort of midfielder, he's not that player. He's someone who can, he could be a lump, sort of someone who's going to be physical with you in midfield. But he doesn't really do that. And he's not got the creativity to be playing the ball like Bruno does. He can win some headers, but he's not a player that United need. And they're going to go for the guy from PSG. The name's gone off. I think it's PSG. The name's gone off my head.
Arte, yeah.
Yeah. That's someone they need more than a McTominay. I personally don't see the hype around McTominay. Yes, he's come up with some decent goals, but overall he's not a great player. He's not someone you want in your midfield if you want to be going back to trying to win the Premier League, trying to win FA Cups and the Champions Leagues. He's not someone there. So I actually personally think it's probably the right move, and it's full profit, isn't it? As well, for PSR, FFP rules, like Chelsea with Gallagher. The money they make is from a free transfer because he's coming through the academy.
Yeah, I think McTominay, he's an all right player, but I agree. I think he got 10 goals in all competitions last season, and he's not supposed to be scoring goals, which really emphasises United's issues last year. When he was the guy scoring goals, he shouldn't be the one doing that. McTominay is the perfect player for peak Mourinho, peak Sir Alex Ferguson. He's in the wrong era, unfortunately, and I think he'll do a good job at Napoli if he does move there under Conte, because he likes that kind of player too. And also, he is at the last year of his contract, so chances are he's probably not going to renew, which they might as well cash in on him now and get, like you said, full profit. I think United are in a strange position. I think, they thrive under the games against Liverpool, but at the moment they're one defeat too many. They shouldn't really be. Everyone's giving praise to Brighton, but realistically, they should have gone on to win that game, and they didn't. You're right. Goal scoring is an issue. It's the way he plays. It's like a goal scorer isn't, an out-and-out striker isn't needed. But that's the same with Pep's style of play, and he still gets strikers scoring 30 goals, or he gets the rest of the team contributing. He's not really getting the rest of the team contributing. Rashford is a good player, and we thought he'd got the best out of Rashford. Now he's dropped off a cliff.
Is that Rashford, or is that the manager, by the way? Because it does need to be studied, this Rashford, peaks and troughs. Like, is it mentality? What are we missing here?
It's Rashford. The chances I've seen him miss in that, like I say, that purple patch I said before, he would have scored every single one of them, and now it's going massively wide. I think he had a chance against Brighton that he was offside, 1-on-1, and he just put it so far wide, and you're like, did you even try? Did you know you were offside, so you were just putting it wide? It was that bad. He did score from an offside position, which sort of hit the keeper, went in. But no, I generally think something's up with Rashford.
Yeah,
Whether we don't think of the player he is as good as he is, or he's just hit such a terrible form. I can't blame the manager when he's missing this many chances.
No, I think Rashford. He's an example. He was thrown in at the deep end at a very young age. There's probably something. There might be something going on personally that we don't know. But in my opinion, like when we used to see some of his finishing, some of the best finishing in the game. I remember his goal he scored at the Emirates last season. I think it was absolutely fantastic goal. And then he does nothing. He should be scoring goals against Brighton, scoring goals. He should be relishing off that, and he hasn't been. There is an issue there, and I think between now and the transfer window, this is where they need to make that big decision and maybe let him go. He's been at United, broke into the team in 2015, so it's nearly 10 years he's been there now. Maybe a fresh start is needed to just give him that boost to life and get rid of him as well from United's perspective, where they can move on and not feel they have to keep playing him, to be honest. But as you mentioned, is the manager to blame for this? So this asks, should Ten Hag be sacked? Do you think he should be sacked depending on how they get on with Liverpool? Do you see him lasting until Christmas, or do you see him lasting until the end of the season? Where do we think Ten Hag is going to be? Should he be sacked, Jamie?
I thought he probably should have been sacked last season, coming in like the worst ever Premier League finish for United. That's a sackable offence. They've kept him, so I don't really see him sacking him now, because I think that would be really counterproductive. I think Ineos will look to bring someone else in, but they're probably just trying to find the right guy after bringing in all the sort of backroom staff that they've brought in. So I'd say no for now, but if he loses, 4 of the next 5, he's asking to be sacked, really. So no for now.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's going to be tough to justify him staying if they go and lose or struggle in those next 3-4 games that I've highlighted. But the fact that they took that decision, there was the rumours pre-season, before the FA Cup, after the FA Cup, I do feel like they've probably gone, look, let's give him till Christmas, see what he can do with the new signings. Because you've got to remember they have got some new signings. They've got a couple of new defenders as well. So you've got to, when you sign new players, you have got to give the manager a bit of time. We've seen it at Chelsea a million times. It is hard just to embed these new players into a squad perfectly. So I think that's probably an argument to give him longer. But nothing, as we said, so far, nothing has changed in their performance whatsoever. And if it continues at this level, I do think Ineos will have to step in. So I could see him getting sacked maybe later in the season or at the end of the season if they don't improve. So yeah, time will tell.
Yeah, I'm very much a big fan of, being patient. I know that United fans would be frustrated, but they've still got 2 trophies and they've still done all right. And they're still shifting out a lot of the mess that, that have been bought in, maybe not properly looked at and bought in. And he's still got to deal with that. So I give him his credit, and he does do all right. I think a lot of the performances have been substandard. If you look at last season, for example, there's a lot of very Unai Emery at Arsenal vibes with this one, where really Emery should have been sacked after the Europa League final defeat to Chelsea, and he wasn't. He was given the summer, signed his players, and it just didn't work. And then that put Arsenal back another 2 seasons because of that, probably. So I think Ineos are going to be considering that. They probably were looking to get rid of him, maybe, but because he won the FA Cup, you feel that emotional need to keep him. I think, the next few games will really be determined of him. I think he can't be losing to Southampton. He can't be losing, to Palace at the moment. He's got to get those results. He'd be very lucky at this moment to see it till Christmas. Personally, I would keep him until the end of the season. Then you can refresh while, when players come back. But if it carries on as it is, he will be lucky to see Christmas.
There you have it. United fans, we have said a lot, mostly negative, so I apologise, but do let us know your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Or do you see the light at the end of the tunnel with Ten Hag? But as always, like, comment and subscribe. You know the drill.